Welcome to Black Angus Reviews, casting the Fandom Menace in Game of Thrones, Episode 3, Geeks and Gamers and Friends. If you haven't seen the previous two episodes, the playlist link is at the top of the description. Watch those and enjoy this when you're done. Now, let's get into the casting. Drogo is a Khal, a warlord of the Dothraki. He is renowned in battle, never being defeated, with a braid of hair as cultural evidence of such. He covets the most beautiful women in the world and enlists the help of Magister Syrio, finding Daenerys as his young bride, in exchange for use of his foreign army to cross the Narrow Sea and aid Viserys in taking the Iron Throne. Ivan Ortega is my choice for Khal. A foreign delicacy, Ivan's smooth Latin accent and ability to edit even The Last Jedi into a good story seduces all the ladies. Just as Khal forms an alliance with a white boy, Ivan helps all the whiteys in the Fandom Menace, as he is the helpful Mexican. Daenerys Targaryen has gone from a naive girl who uses a bargaining chip to form an alliance, to Mother of Dragons and Breaker of Chains. Every season, she's advanced, but at great cost to herself. Having been a pawn before, she knows the value of freedom and uses the insight to better those she hopes to rule. Jessie Milestone is perfect as Daenerys. God Empress, she demands loyalty from her subjects, and like Dany uttering Jacaerys, she rains fire on all those who would oppose. And as Dany is betrothed to Khal Drogo, Jessie has been shipped with Ivan Ortega by Becky Embers. Syrio Forel is a master of the Braavosi fighting form known as the Water Dance. When Arya refuses the typical path of a lord's daughter, Ned gives in and enlists Syrio to train her. Eccentric and confident, Syrio holds off Meryn Trant and his lackeys to give Arya time to flee, besting most of the armored knights with just a wooden sword. Alex Laths is Syrio Forel in my book. First off, he's a mod for Jessie Milestone, and thus associated with Geeks and Gamers. He's also a studied swordsman, and covers sword fighting films on YouTube. As far as eccentricity is concerned, he's a doctor of cosmology or physics. Like Doctor Who, he's a doctor of time and space. When we first meet Arya Stark, we find a girl at odds with the norms of society. Expected to be content with being a lady in the expected princess trope, Arya dreams of swordplay and valor reserved for men in Westeros. Learning initial water dancing before going on the run, Arya eventually comes to Braavos and learns the path of an assassin, like the Faceless Men, before returning to Westeros to unleash vengeance on all those who have wronged her. Hey Viv is a suitable choice for Arya, a woman who hates The Last Jedi. She won't assume the SJW role they deem proper for a lady. Like Arya away in Braavos, Hey Viv is busy in film school, leaving us all in anticipation for when she makes a full assault on YouTube with more consistent content. Sansa Stark had simple dreams of the princess trope, set on marrying Joffrey and having little princes and princesses as the future queen of Westeros. That soon came undone as she was made a captive of the state. After being freed and going through awful trials in life, Sansa assumes her rightful place as the Lady of Winterfell and aids Jon in securing the North. That Star Wars girl is my choice for Sansa. Not only are they both beautiful women, they both have a strong demeanor and will. Sansa's realized much later on, of course. As many of us were shocked at the assault of Sansa, that Star Wars girl was shocked at the assault to the fandom known as The Last Jedi, and thus a channel was born. Now, not only do The Last Jedi fanboys cry at her content, but so too do the Captain Marvel bots. Sir Loras Tyrell was a tourney knight and heir to Highgarden. With his good looks and highborn charm, he earned the adoration of many a fair lady, including Lady Sansa, but his heart was elsewhere, fated to love Renly Baratheon. When together, Loras ensured Renly was well groomed. Unfortunately, Stannis' hellspawn was not as delicate when shaving his back hair. So Loras joined the Lannisters in their fight to avenge Renly. After the Battle of the Blackwater, House Tyrell was allied with the Lannisters, but the alliance tragically came short with the destruction of the Sept. Moments prior to that, Sir Loras gave in to the torture of the Faith Militant, abdicating all titles and becoming Brother Loras. Proper Jeremy is my choice for Loras Tyrell. First and foremost, there's the obvious connection with the casting choice for Renly, Lethal Lightning. If you're new here to the channel, you may have missed my documentary, The Chad and His Virgin, A Lover's Quarrel. In it, I compiled an intense interaction between Lethal, the Chad, and Proper, his submissive virgin. Clearly, there's a romantic parallel with Theon and Loras and Renly. Furthermore, Proper received cuck status notoriety from Lethal for missing a stream, and Loras was cucked to the point of branding for the Faith Militant. But it's not all just jabs at PJ. Like Sir Loras, PJ has garnered the affection of that Star Wars girl, who you've just seen is Sansa in this series. The presumed Lady Stark has given Sir PJ mod status for his gallantry. On first viewing, you may feel Theon is just a peon, a snake, and generally deserves his cruel fate through much of the show. It could just be me being a father, or perhaps realizing the moral gray of Game of Thrones more so. Regardless, I have come around to empathizing with Theon greatly. Born a Greyjoy, he has a reputation to uphold, especially being a Lord's son. Because of his father's rebellion and his older brother's demise, Theon is next in line for the Iron Isles, and made a ward of the state with the Starks, a political captive, taken at an early age and raised with his kind captor's children, essentially a sibling to them. When sent to aid his friend, his loyalties are questioned, and he ends up taking Winterfell in an attempt at usurping Robb. Theon then faces mutiny and abandonment by his men, torture and loss of a potential legacy, betrays his own people, and even loses his own name and sense of self. Before his end, he returns to Winterfell, always intent on righting his wrongs, repeatedly redeeming his character for the audience. Initially, I had someone else in mind. I cast Chat as Theon. Being a Fandom Minister, there's a lot to be at odds with this guy and his channel content, but as time goes, either through maturity or willingness to see a very different opinion, I can tolerate him. I mainly know him for Twitter disputes, both with myself and with St. Germanus, but he seemingly tried to avoid senseless conflict the longer we've been on YouTube. Supposedly, he used to follow the Fandom Menace before having his heart corrupted, I assume, by soy. Even if he never returns to the Fandom Menace, I see a lot of Theon in him. A Star Wars fan torn various ways by allegiances, just looking, perhaps, to find his own voice in all the fray. Aside from Theon, I don't know of a character who's gone through as much progression than Jaime Lannister. When we meet him, he's a smug Prince Charming type who attempts to kill a child to protect the secret of banging his queen sister. Once captive, we see him constantly humiliated and cut down a peg. Through his struggle, we learn the complexity of his heart behind his shiny armor. He comes to appreciate Brienne of Tarth and respect her, and through his interactions with her, seems subtly to have found a woman he could love to some degree, aside from Cersei. The most notable reveal we learn is the disdain he has for his name, Kingslayer. While seeming to brush it aside, it pains him to have the perception of a traitor, when in reality, he slayed a man who commanded him to kill his own father and wreaked evil on his people. Through the show, Jaime has gone from a villainous role to a fan favorite. There's only one person I could cast as Jaime, a man who unashamedly roots for Alabama, a land known for its, well, close family relations.
Oh, you're my sister!
All joking aside, Jeremy is a key villain to all SJWs on Twitter and YouTube, calling out the woke agenda daily. Personally, he's gone from some guy repeatedly in my feed I didn't feel added much to the conversation, to a channel whose uploads I watch immediately, even rising to Fandom Menace sainthood in my opinion, and now leads the High Council in the fight for common sense discussion and content and entertainment, all with the help of the Jer army. Branagh the Blackwater first arrived on the scene, a simple sellsword come to the defense of Tyrion in a trial by combat. He's a man who doesn't care about titles. He does as he pleases and reaps the rewards for doing so. For his efforts in battle, and for the crown, he's risen in rank to become a key player to the end of the show. Odin's movie blog is my choice for Branagh the Blackwater. While a regular Sunday uploader for Geeks and Gamers, Odin maintains his own channel while also teaching. Instead of attempting to hitch his Rotten Tomatoes-like film score website to Geeks and Gamers or other channels or supporters like many of us might attempt, he's forging his own way, building it from the ground up, and like Bronn disdaining superficial titles and pleasantries, Odin disdains the Oscars and other film awards as they've sacrificed integrity for political virtue signaling, boycotting them with the Wednesday Raven Awards. Gendry is a character who's been sparsely sprinkled through the show. Most notably, he was rewarded with the first engagement of Arya Stark. Born a bastard of Robert Baratheon, he worked as a blacksmith in King's Landing before being found for use of his highborn blood for Stannis and Melisandre. Later, he comes of use in fighting the army of the undead, both as a messenger and a smith in the Forge of Winterfell. Being a king's bastard, it remains to be seen where his place in the Game of Thrones will be. Josiah Rises is my choice for Gendry. Being associated with Geeks and Gamers for some time, he was mostly unknown until popping up on the channel and soon earning a manager role for the channel. Like Gendry fighting the hordes of undead, Josiah aids the Fandom Menace in the fight against SJWs, both on Geeks and Gamers and his own channel. Also like Gendry, Josiah has come from poor origins and like his channel name has risen to notoriety, whose ceiling is yet to be seen. On second viewing, Robb Stark really shines for me as a character. The oldest son of Ned Stark, Robb is next in line to take command as Warden of the North. When Ned is executed for treason, the focus of the Stark storyline shifts largely to him. The performance of his learning of his father's death hit me hard and won me over. Leading the main charge in the War of Five Kings, he proved wise beyond his years and a real match for Lord Tywin. While an apt commander, love, trust, and a moral code proved to be his undoing. Robb is slaughtered along with his beloved pregnant wife and mother for spurning the wrong man. And like so many others in the show, he was gone too soon. Another lesson for Martin that morality and goodwill reward none in the Game of Thrones. Jon Talks is my choice for Robb. Originally, Jon had only about 15,000 subscribers when initially cast, and has since jumped to about 30,000. Still, I feel that, like Robb, perhaps not getting a full arc like I'd wanted, Jon is an under-rewarded YouTuber. You may like or pull for Robb from the get-go because he's a Stark and has a clear righteous cause to avenge his father. And the same can be said for Jon being in the Fandom Menace. At first look, he may seem like a Hot Topic creator, but more and more, he's added his sly, backhanded humor to the mix, and in live streams, he's a wealth of knowledge both in film and art criticism and insight. Catelyn Stark is the Lady of Winterfell and wife of Ned Stark. She does her best to serve her husband and family faithfully. After the tragic injury Bran suffered, she grieves by his bedside. After the execution of Ned, she aids her son Robb with her counsel as Lady of Winterfell during the Civil War. Catelyn's story is altogether tragic, that of a woman who just wants to return home to her children and have her husband's remains honored and entombed with his kin. She instead becomes a key diplomat for the Stark war machine and is rewarded with betrayal, her last thoughts probably on the perceived reality that all her children are killed or captive before her life is extinguished. Mecha Random 42 is my choice for Catelyn Stark. While not as tragic, Mecha has repeatedly been slandered and attacked by SJWs for her Fandom Menace opinions, despite being a woman and bisexual. From watching a good portion of her content, I feel she has core personality traits like Catelyn. Kind yet fierce, she is our favorite YouTube harpy. Living in Colorado and fighting SJWs like Catelyn, she knows the meaning of winter is coming. In closing, I'd like to apologize to two channels, SC Reviews and my friend Mary Mayhem. With SC, I don't have enough of a grasp of his channel and personality to cast him properly, and with Mary, she was a late casting, and her character didn't, in my opinion, actually have any element to extrapolate a meaningful similarity. Despite that, their links are in the description. Check them out if you haven't. Look forward to next week's episode, The Wild Cards, where I cast channels I associate with that are clearly Fandom Ministers, but I can't properly associate with a High Council following. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you'd like to support this channel, consider becoming a patron or buying store merch from the Teespring store. Don't forget to check out the growing list of friends in the Fandom Collective in the description below, and follow me on Twitter @AngusReviews. See you there.